The German Tiger tank was the most belligerent tank of its time. Not only heavily armored, but it was also highly protected with powerful weapons on board. This made it one of the most feared tanks of World War II, and it gained an invincible reputation. The Tiger on one day had destroyed 100 Allied tanks, and dozens of men burned to death after being hit by the Tiger's powerful and accurate guns. The deadly 60-ton German tanks were wiping out British soldiers, and subsequently destroying Allied morale. Terror of Tigers was so widespread it had its own nickname, Tigerphobia. In order to learn how to defeat them in battle, Churchill knew he had to get a hold of one, and he trusted someone special with this crucial mission. On April 24, 1943, explosions reverberate throughout the soil as the troops of the 2nd Battalion of Sherwood Foresters seek refuge in their scant trenches. Sergeant John Oscroft is one of the Allied soldiers. He has the dubious privilege of carrying a Piat anti-tank weapon. Oscroft has seen several conflicts since leaving his work in a hosiery mill and joining the war effort at the start of the conflict. He steels himself now, knowing his time will come. The Germans have them under fire, and barely 300 yards away, a Panzer squadron in a hull-down posture fires on the Allied positions. The Panzer squadron is led by a formidable beast. The Allies even whisper its name. It's a Tiger. The German war machine's flagships are equipped with a powerful 88mm cannon and superb armor. They instill fear in even the greatest tankers, let alone an infantry unit with just Piats at its disposal. A few troops dash for an abandoned Pak 9738, checking the enemy's former location for ammunition and turning the weapon around. Tiger crews are under tight orders not to allow their tank to fall into enemy hands, even going so far as to provide the crews with charges to demolish the tank before capture. So for the Allies, taking one out is a massive undertaking, let alone catching a Tiger with its fangs and claws intact. The months rolled on in Tunisia for Sergeant Oscroft, and he and his team kept having near misses. One Tiger was blown up by the Royal Engineers, a second was towed to safety by the German army, and another was destroyed by its crew to stop it being captured. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the hill, a rush of German soldiers emerges from behind the panzers, hitting the Allied lines behind the cover of the war machines. Despite the extreme danger, the Foresters crawl out of their trenches and unleash hell on the advancing enemy, slicing through the German ranks with their rifles and light machine guns. The Panzers fire back with cannons and machine guns, inflicting heavy damage on the defenders. However, the German attackers are suffering far worse, and their charge falters, forcing them to retreat. Get back! But it is not over yet. The Panzers continue to suppress the Foresters, pinning them in place. The Foresters have the pack, but they don't even consider shooting down the hill. They'd be blown up the moment they exposed it. Meanwhile, the Germans make their second infantry onslaught. However, no amount of explosives will weaken the British soldiers' reserve. They open fire on the advancing army before retreating quickly to avoid the Panzers' wrath. They expertly negotiate the storm of lead, bringing the German advance to a standstill for the second time. The commander aboard the lead Tiger is becoming increasingly irritated. He's in shock as the second wave fades before his eyes. He orders his panzers to surround him, confident that he will demonstrate to those allies the power of German steel. "I'm moving forward." The beast roars as it emerges from its cover and charges up the slope. The side of its turret bears the marking 131. The Sherwood Foresters on the hills are taken aback by the sight of the attacking Tiger. "Tiger!" The men directly in the path of the beast flee for cover as the machine gun nests unleash all their firepower. Their shots ricochet off the German armor, mostly annoying the crew inside. In the distance, a group of Churchill tanks notices the advancing wonder weapon emerge from cover. "Tiger!" Inside the Churchill, a gunner quickly aims and fires. A shell flies across the battlefield. The shell falls short. It hits an Allied universal carrier, causing an explosion that soars into the air. The Tiger commander surveys the terrain. "Oh my God, there are so many of them! Panzer, 500 meters!" The German commander turns white. He understands that the only true threat to them is the British tanks. He immediately abandons the infantry attack and returns to cover. He draws back and spins the turret towards the threat. He realigns the tanks such that the thickest frontal armor faces the British tanks. The Churchills take careful aim. It's really difficult to land a hit at this distance. However, the gunner maintains his position and fires. It appears to be on target. Almost. A smoke mortar pings 131. Sergeant Oscraft is back on the hill, clutching his Piat anti-tank weapon and taking shelter with the others. The men observe the Tiger disappearing behind the hill and seize the opportunity. Go for it, John. One man facing a massive metal beast. With gritted teeth, Oscraft surges into action, Piat in hand. He crawls over the crest and discovers the Tiger preparing for another attack. Oscraft is unfazed by the sight of the big tank in front of him. His mind is completely concentrated on this assignment. His heart raced as he crawled closer to the steel monster, but he didn't make it in time. The Tiger peeks back over the ridge, aiming directly at the Churchills. It discharges with an earth-shaking roar, blasting an 88-meter shell through the sky. Their aim is devastating. It smacks into one of the Churchills, smashing through the armor and destroying it in a ball of flame. The Churchills respond by firing multiple rounds at the German tank with their 57mm guns, but each round bounces uselessly off its strong armor as it retreats into cover. The muzzle blast shakes Oscraft to his core, causing his ears to ring. It's only one man versus the giant, but he continues on. He takes aim and squeezes the trigger. The shoulder-fired mortar explodes with a bang. The warhead arcs towards the opponent. It's a hit! Oscraft watches in hope, which turns to fear as he sees the warhead bounce off the Tiger's turret and remain intact. The Tiger comes to a stop. Slowly, the turret revolves until Oscraft is peering into the beast's mouth. Shaking himself, he rushes to hide amidst the hill's boulders and tall grass, and to his immense relief, the German crew never notices him. The Tiger repositions himself and looks back up the hill, determined to take down the Churchills one by one. But this time, the Sherwood Foresters are prepared. One round strikes the Tiger to the left of the mantlet, but fails to penetrate the heavily sloped side armor, tearing the mantlet trunnion in the process. The shock rips through the gun's elevation system, costing valuable fractions of a second and allowing the Churchills to exact their revenge. A 57mm shell zips beneath the barrel and hits its thicker base, diverting it towards the lower mantle. The contact stops the turret's rotation and sends Spall into the cabin, striking the gunner, driver, and radio. The stunned commander commands, "Bail out!" The loader and the commander open their hatches and rush to leave, dragging the wounded with them. But again, the Germans got wind of the plans and launched a surprise attack. This was what Sergeant Oscraft had been waiting for. They set off in a Churchill Mark IV tank and headed to the battlefield. Sergeant Oscraft told his team, "We must spot one that's in trouble and pounce." It didn't take long to spot an opportunity, and less than half a mile away from them was the turret of a Mark IV Tiger 131, which was jammed. The hatch was open and a soldier was examining one of the tank's guns. Sergeant Oscraft and his team made their way towards the Tiger at top speed and opened fire, peppering the German with bullets. This, apparently, was the first time Sergeant Oscraft had shot a man. With their own tank alongside the Tiger, Sergeant Oscraft climbed onto the roof, but the mission was far from complete. As he tried to keep his balance, one of the German crew emerged with an MP-40 machine gun. But then, one of Sergeant Oscraft's team opened fire on the German in the nick of time. A 6-pounder solid shot from a Churchill tank of the British 48th Royal Tank Regiment hit the Tiger's gun barrel and ricocheted into its turret ring, jamming its traverse and wounding the commander. The crew bailed out and the tank was captured. The mission was still not completely over though, and Douglas had set about transporting the Tiger back to Britain. The Germans knew this and were determined to stop him. He successfully got the Tiger on the SS Empire Candida cargo ship for the first leg of the journey, but a German U-boat opened fire. Douglas then used the Germans' own weaponry against them and turned the Tiger's guns on the submarine. He missed, but the U-boat retreated. In September 1943, during darkness, he drove the tank on the foredeck of the Ocean Strength, armed with a Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife and service revolver. Lauderdale took no chances, and in case the ship came under attack, he also ordered 60 life rafts, one for each ton of his Tiger. He told his men, "Winston Churchill wants this tank, and by God, I'm going to deliver it to him." It was a hairy journey getting the tank home to Blighty, and along the way the ship was pursued by U-boats and Luftwaffe planes. But eventually, in October 1943, the tank arrived in Glasgow before it got taken to London. Christmas came early. Delivering the rather hefty present to the Prime Minister and completing his mission, Churchill greeted him, "Mr. Hitler and his Huns will be crying themselves to sleep tonight." The Tiger was displayed at the recently freed city of Tunis, when Winston Churchill and King George VI flew in to view the German monster firsthand. Tiger 131 became a film sensation, playing a nemesis to Brad Pitt's tank crew in the film Fury. Apologies, Brad Pitt, this doesn't look like you. Best job I ever had. Tiger 131 is currently the only operating Tiger 1 in the world. That wraps up the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay notified about our uploads. I'll see you next time. Till then, peace out.